We fly no colors out here, but praise the lack of them. So let the black flag signal nothing but your allegiance to man's natural freedoms.
If a man plays the fool, then it's only fools he'll persuade, but appear to be the devil. And all men will submit.
We're pirates, kid. We take as we please and become who we like.
But that look ain't you. It's not who you are.
Who am I then?
You're a wonder, Kenway. You've a knack for this kind of work.
It ain't work if you love it.
Hello and welcome out to another episode of This Week in Geeks Prototype. It is I, Alex the producer, and this time on the show, we're back doing one of our longer form review discussions. It's been a while since we've done one of these where we've had sort of a roundtable discussion, but this is pretty exciting because Ubisoft sent over review copies on multiple different platforms for us to check out of Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced. I already talked about the impressions, my review completely spoiler free on about a week and a half ago on the program here, and now the rest of the team has had their chances to play, either complete or get as far as they can in the game. And I, being the person who had never played the original, I went first in that initial review, just talking about my impressions. So we're going to have time now to listen to veterans talk, as well as do some comparisons of the platforms, how we feel, and just overall, again, spoilery sort of discussions on that. So if you're somebody who's coming into this that doesn't want any spoilers at all, maybe go back, listen to that previous review that we did, play the game a bit, or if you don't mind that, then obviously listen on in. Just be warned that spoilers will be here. So joining me today for this, we have Ken, who ended up playing this on, I believe, which platform did you have, Ken?
It was the Xbox.
You had the Xbox, right? And I played it on PC, so I had it a little bit earlier than everybody else. I'll say this, preface it by saying the PC version was available for press to review about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks almost before other platforms. So I had a slightly different experience than the people because I had to play it when there was different patches coming out, constantly changing the performance. And then Birdman, old Black Flag lover.
Old pirate here.
Who honestly, like, when I first started recording with you, you told me this was like one of your top 10 favorite games.
Yeah, like I played this back on its original release date, back in, I want to say 2013. And there was an online component to this game at one point. And at one point, if I remember correctly, I could very well be wrong on this, I was ranked in the top 20 in Canada for the naval combat. And I played this game obsessively for like a year. So getting this was pretty awesome. I can say, as of this review, I've not finished the game, but I have 100 hours in.
You've been doing everything.
I have done every side activity. I have completed the Dark Animuses as far as I could. I know 2 will open up once I finish the game. I have done multiple run-throughs of all the piracy things. I think I'm 2 trophies away from platinum. So
okay,
I've kicked this game's ass.
And for comparison, my playthrough, I played it, and because I was trying to get it ready, at least for when we were doing release, I was sort of jumping around because I did some sort of custom difficulty, because you can customize difficulty in this however you want. You can have a baseline of like easy, normal, hard, or the equivalent of that, and then go and be like, I want naval combat to be easier, or I want this to be harder, that sort of stuff. I ended up playing it sort of on a mix of somewhere between easy and normal. I did what I would consider the critical path of every main mission. I didn't do every collectible. I didn't do all that. And I ended up on my playthrough being somebody completely new to it, not looking up any guides or anything, just following along as if it was a completely new player, because I was. And I ended up somewhere in the realm of like 36 to 38 hours of completion. And I did not do a final mission. I got really stuck on it. It's the one time I got frustrated, and I mentioned to you guys in private, there's something here where I was like, I can't do it. I'm like, I'm skipping that. I was lucky enough that I had a previous save that would allow me to not have lost more than a couple hours of time to just not do that mission. And I will mention this. There is no way in this game to cancel out of a mission once you're committed. You have to just be lucky enough to have a previous save.
Yeah,
so that's,
there are very few missions that will allow you to, there's like one, maybe two, but not many at all.
So I'll say that I got lucky, because I was
save
very
often,
worried.
save always.
Yeah, I was very worried that I was going to be stuck into where I was, but luckily there was a previous save.
I had a game-breaking bug at one point. There's a mission very late in the game where you have to fight Ben Hornigold, who is one of your pirate buddies who helps you do Nassau, and eventually he becomes a Templar. So there's a mission where you have to chase down his ship. I think it's called the Benjamin, and these two British frigates will come out of nowhere and try to offer him cover. So the mission is to rescue like Thatch or whoever, no, not Thatch, Vane or whoever, and you rescue them and you have to chase down this ship. Problem I was having is I was so overpowered, I could nail that ship in one hit. So his buddies, I'd nail them with the mortar, I'd get close to the ship, and the instance would happen. So I could jump and board his ship, I could kill his crew, but the game wouldn't recognize that the mission had been completed. So literally, I had to push him, I had to ram his ship past a certain point using my naval ram, and then the game triggered, realizing, oh, you have to be past this certain point. So
yeah, they don't expect you to be fast enough to catch it. I had a couple issues like that where you know how certain parts of the game nearing the beginning to middle, you're not really supposed to go beyond a certain point, or if you do, you'll desync, right? You hit the edge of the border. I had a few instances where I was in a naval battle and I wrecked it. Oh, I wrecked it, and the
wreck was outside.
The wreck is halfway in between, and when you go to board them, you can board them, but nothing happens. Nothing will trigger, and I was like, well, "What do I do?"
Ooh.
And on top of that, the worst part was once you've done that, you can't get out of that mode. Like you can't do it till you've completed it. So I literally had to exit the game, come back in, and it would load the latest quick save, which would have been right before that.
Yeah.
So I figured that was a bug that might have just happened to me, but no, it seems like there's some quirky.
I've had shit like go into the outside boundaries and just like, okay, what the fuck? I can't do jack shit. I have to restart the save.
It has it has persistent bugs of things you would expect from 2010 to 2013 that weren't fixed.
I also almost got killed during a cutscene.
That's interesting.
There's weird little bugs that are persistent. Now, some exploits, because I used to know quite a number of exploits to the point where if I wanted to farm materials, and they patched, this worked for a couple of days, but they patched it out super quick. There's a point on the map where you can literally board a man of war, and the crew will just stand there as you kill them, and you can literally get all the resources off that ship. But then now it's been changed where you can still climb on board the man of war, but now instead of capturing it and taking it to your fleet and getting the lockbox, now it just asks you, do you want to scuttle it? So that was kind of weird. Now, I played a shit ton of Shadows, which means I had a lot of the Animus keys. So during my review period, the store wasn't active yet. However, there's a moment where it says, do you want to claim your Animus rewards. So I'm thinking, all right, yeah, sure, cool. So I had access to Altair's swords. I had access to Nawe's. I had access to Ezio's. I am stupid overpowered about 3 hours into the game. So I got all the outfits, all the weapons, all the pistols.
I got Nawe's sword, and that was available to get even before the store was officially live. Certain things you could still redeem. You could redeem things from the Animus, but you couldn't purchase things like you couldn't buy extras.
Resource packs.
To be fair, they sent the digital deluxe edition to all of us, I'm assuming.
Yes.
I should mention that
gear.
The versions we received was like the premium high-end versions. So everything that basically we have the ability to test out everything that would be available to people.
Yeah, the gear that you get with that digital deluxe edition makes you pretty overpowered for the first
couple
bit
of hours
of the game.
Yeah.
It'll get you started. It won't carry you through the whole game, but it'll get you started.
No, of course
for sure.
not.
Yeah. Now
you will be, if you're playing on easy mode, that might last a little longer.
Yeah, now there were some interviews that were done with the Ubisoft devs that I was watching during this review period, and you can literally finish the game with the starting pistols and the starting swords, because ultimately, there are some things that do offer slightly higher. Maybe you can do more takedowns, you can do more this, that, and the other thing. One thing I did like, though, that they did change with the game is you don't have to wear specific outfits to get certain perks. That's something they borrowed from Assassin's Creed Shadows via the trinket system. And there are some really overpowered trinkets. And one thing that the community for this game did, there is a community chest that was not supposed to go live for weeks. Somebody found it, and it's literally the hardest outfit to get from the original period that was only available during a very small window back in 2014 during a community challenge. It's called the Explorer's outfit, and it's literally the canonical outfit for Edward. There's also other weapons that are the canonical weapons from the game's cover art, like his pistols and his rapiers, which is, again, hidden weapons, which is very cool. One thing I do appreciate about this update is there's a lot of new optional content. Like, there's different treasures, there's new missions, there's these Dark Animus rifts, which I was asking these guys if they had done them, because this is new game content.
Okay, so because I'm going to be the voice, I think, of the newbie. Yeah. I guess, am I the voice of Gen Z?
Yes.
My background with this was I played maybe an hour of the original version of the game. I really didn't like the controls back in the day. Even though everybody loved it, I felt that it was kind of like floaty, like you had inertia.
Welcome to old school Assassin's Creed. You were floaty as hell.
You just sort of kept moving even when you didn't want to, and blah, blah, blah. I found that this was so much better. But anyway, as somebody completely new to this, from my understanding, and you guys can correct me, if I'm wrong or if I'm missing something, I went back and ended up watching some playthroughs of the original version of the game, plus all of the stuff that takes place in the current day the real world present line timeline stuff that's been mostly cut, but there's still references to it here and there. And I one thing I did, and I don't know if you guys did it, even though regardless of the difficulty you're playing on, honestly, one of the coolest things that everybody playing this should turn on, and it doesn't penalize you like trophy wise or anything, is turn on in the accessibility options the ability to swim forever without running out of air.
100%. Because
God,
it's gorgeous.
Because when I didn't have it on initially, and I was like, oh, just no, I was like, this is going to be not just annoying; it will be anger-inducing to me. Like, that's an old style of gameplay that I have no interest in caring about. Like,
stamina bars are bitches.
Yeah, that is not something as I'm approaching 40 that I care to ever see in a game again, unless the entire point of the game is that. Then it's like, okay, well then maybe the game's not for me. But having the ability to turn that off and just swim around, I was like, oh my God. And yes, you still have to worry about sharks and stuff, but I was like, this is so much better. So, question for you guys. I did a bunch of the dives. I didn't do every single one of them. But were there? Did you feel was there more that was added to those, or was there more treasures in them, or were there more spots that you didn't recognize before?
When I think back upon this, I feel like most of the shipwrecks were intact from the original. I might wonder some of the placement was a little bit different though.
Like maybe they might have shifted around.
Maybe just some of the placement, but like
same with the big game hunting, like the ones where you go after the sharks and stuff.
But like the way the map is designed is pretty on par with what the original was.
I would argue that some of it feels a little bit different because I remember hunting being a lot. That's the thing because I know hunting was a thing in Rogue, and Rogue was built off the exact same engine.
It was like a refinement of it, right? Like where they changed just a bit.
Yeah, because it came out like 9 months later after this game.
Well, the idea was that Rogue was the 360 game, and this was the
because Unity came after.
New.
Yeah, so sort of the transition game between the new and old generations, yeah.
And I'll say this, after playing Black Flag Resynced, I did an attempt to go back and play every single game in the series, because I own most of them either through PC or through like Game Pass or on ConsoleNet, and I did play the original, and I got a pretty good appreciation for that, especially after patching it on PC to make it work with Windows 11. 2 kept crashing everywhere, so I couldn't complete it, and I was like, screw it, I'm going to watch a video on it. I'm not sitting down and playing it, even though Ezio's great. Brotherhood, I did a complete playthrough on PC. That was actually quite fun, especially after, again, having to patch it to make it work properly. Revelations, I wasn't able to get working. It kept crashing on me. And so I can see why they want to do remakes of these games, because they just simply don't work on PC, really. And yes, they're available to buy. You have to really mess with them to make them work properly.
I mean, now there's the Ezio trilogy, which is their remake of the Ezio
on console,
games.
But not on PC.
On console, but PC, they haven't released those. So
maybe eventually, but yeah. So I went through each one, getting up to it. And I didn't play Rogue because that one didn't want to play well either. But I did play Unity. So the ones I was able to beat, I was able to beat 1, Brotherhood, Unity, Syndicate, which is great. I really like that.
I love Syndicate.
Yeah, Syndicate.
And then, to be honest, I got real bored real quick with Odyssey and Origins. And I don't think they're bad games. I don't think they're bad games. I think they're too much, and Valhalla has a little bit of that too. I think that this is them testing the scope and saying, "Hey, we need to narrow the scope a bit." It doesn't need to be maybe as short as Mirage ended up being, because that was like an expansion into a full game. But somewhere finding the balance, and I can see why this was one to start with, obviously, because it's like the most popular canonically outside of like people like, what's the best one? Everybody's going to say 2 or Brotherhood, usually, of the traditional. And I can see why, because like when I played Brotherhood, I was like, this to me feels like a perfect game for 2010. Yes. Like it was like one of the perfect, I was like, okay, I get this. This feels like when we were in the prime of like, you know, Mass Effect coming out. You had great games from the Halo series. Like there were all these companies putting out these like really amazing experiences that had the exact right size. And before everybody got obsessed with open world stuff, this Black Flag feels like right. I would not want an open world to be bigger than this. This is enough for a game. Yeah, and I can see why. I can see why everybody loved it.
Yeah, like Black Flag has one of the most unique settings in the regards that there have been pirate games, but there haven't been many good pirate games. And the fact that
there's only one other good pirate game, and that's the Sid Meier's pirate game.
Yeah.
And Pirate Yakuza.
Yeah. Like when you have such a charismatic actor as Matt Ryan, Constantine from DC, coming back to voice Edward Kenway, and you've got such a memorable cast of characters like Ben Hornergold, Richard Thatch, aka Blackbeard, and Bonnie, Captain Kidd. Like you get all these great historical things, and not a lot of people know a lot about the golden age of piracy in the 1700s. It's such a fun historical setting. Plus, everybody loved Everybody loved the sea shanties. It made naval combat
Which
accessible and fun.
I should mention this, like where this game really came into my radar, where I went and attempted to play it really truly the first time was during the pandemic when you got obsessed with all the sea shanty people singing stuff.
Yes.
You're like I remember you being like, oh my god, this is
man,
great.
Wellerman, come.
Well, because that stuff was happening, and then I remember you just saying I had to go back, and you went and played like Black Flag originally. I think you played it. Was it like you had a PS4 backwards compact copy or something?
Yep.
Yeah.
And Rogue.
And I remember you being like, I put in 100 hours. I'm like, really? Because I tried it and I was like, this is not for me, bro. I'll tell you, this new version is for me.
Yeah, like it's amazing what an engine change can do, and it's something that I definitely noticed. Like the engine feels different. Like you mentioned floaty. I actually felt this version felt slower to me, but combat felt more deliberate.
It is.
But
100%.
You can't use the hidden blade like you could in the original. In the original, if you didn't want to use your swords, you could use hidden blade the entire time. Now there's talk of them, they're going to patch that in. But according to a recent interview, I think, don't quote me on this, that they're looking at it, but they're going to add more additional animations. In fact, since this review has started, they've added more finishers into the like kind of patch, which is kind of astounding. I think that they're just adding in little things.
I do want to note, just going back to the Matt Ryan of it all, he is, from my perspective, I think he's the only one that came back to do extra shit, because everyone else is that's all old animation.
No,
just
one
on
person.
top of new models.
Steed came back.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So before we get into that, we'll talk about a few sections here I've got notes on. We should mention, Ken, what's your background with this? Because you're the baby of the group here. Like when the first game of this came out, I would have been
Flag was
25
legitimate.
or 26 when the first one came out.
Yeah.
So like I was not. I wouldn't say I was the prime age because I had missed the original games in the series. So I had heard it was great, but it wasn't part of like how I grew up. But you're like 5-6 years younger than me, right? So this would have been like when you were in high school still, right? Or just finishing school.
I was in college when Revelations came out.
Okay, so was that sort of your big introduction, or was that like...
No, I had gone through all of the games, and Revelations was the second game I played going into college.
Okay, and then so when this came out, like this must have been pretty hyped around with you and your friends, like of that age group, right?
Yeah, I mean, 3 left a bad taste in my mouth. 3 left a very bad taste.
I remember
in my
some
mouth.
people at the time not liking. I don't know. I think now it's had like, in hindsight, people like it.
I think there's bits of 3 that are good. The problem is the opening bit of 3 is one of the greatest opening bits of any Assassin's Creed game, period.
And that's one again where I had some trouble running it on my PC, but I watched a video of it, and I'm watching it just sort of like in movie and like real time, and I went, oh shit, that's a twist.
Yeah.
Like at the very beginning.
It's one of the best openings of any Assassin's Creed game.
And for those that are listening that maybe don't know, 4 Black Flag is actually a prequel to 3.
Yes,
Yeah.
because
And the
Edward
only
is Etham's dad.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the only reason why I went into 4 was specifically because pirates. Because Age of Piracy is probably my second favorite piece of history.
And 2013, got to remember too, Pirates of the Caribbean was still like the most massive franchise going at that time.
Yes.
So it makes sense. Like it was perfect timing for it. So yeah, and before we get maybe further into some of the story stuff and things they added and changed, I'll mention like PC performance-wise was real rough until about 4 or 5 days before release. They put out the day 1 patch, and everything went from me having to have the game on my pretty, I would say, mid to higher range PC. Everything went from like 720p at the lowest settings, getting like 20 frames per second, to me being able to do 1440p almost max and flawless 60. So it became very, very performant, very good right before launch. Now, for you guys on Xbox and PlayStation, how is it look good? Is the performance feel like you're getting a good frame rate? Like there's not really stuttering or anything?
So for me, because my TV, I literally can see the frame. I have a frame counter built into my TV, so I can actually see. Very little frame drops. However, for some particular reason, I don't know whether it's like it runs at 120 FPS like container, but it's running at 60 because it definitely was running at 60. But
okay.
like the way the Xbox was outputting it was at 120.
So it outputs at 120, but then it was like limiting itself on purpose, probably to keep it somewhat steady.
I guess.
And I guess for you, Mike, how has the performance been on PlayStation?
I had a couple of moments where I want to say, from a technical standpoint, I did have some bugs, as I did mention previously.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I encountered bugs too, so.
I had maybe 3 hard crashes. I never had a corrupted save. I did have connectivity issues, which I can recreate those pretty easily. And that's mostly from putting the game into a resume state. But
maybe some memory management bugs that can probably work out with a patch sort of thing.
Yeah.
I had like 1 hard crash, but that was pre-release anyway, so.
One of the most interesting glitches I had is I had skeletons climbing through the air, so that was fun.
Classic open world bugs.
Yeah, I had ship combat, and I'd just taken over this frigate, and I had the skeleton crew, and they're climbing across on the grappling hooks. The problem is the grappling hooks didn't load, so there's all these skeletons just climbing through the air. Okay. I got a screenshot of it. It looks great.
I only had one, and I didn't screenshot. Mine was fairly early before all the patches, and it was also at a time where the agreement was like, don't take any video, don't do anything, don't show anything. So I didn't, because I'm a good boy. But I wish you guys could have seen it. I wish I had been recording it just to share with you guys. You know how you do you can hunt things on land, like there's like the animals, and I think is it the white cougar or tiger, whatever it is, that's near your home base in like down there. I went, and I don't know what happened, but I hit it, and it just decided to stop what it was doing and spin in circles in spot, and then just poofed into the air and disappeared.
I'm gonna post something in our text chat.
And I was thinking, oh my god! I was waiting for I thought I should have recorded it and added like the Benny Hill music. Like, you remember when that happened with you, Mike? Actually, was it Breakpoint?
Yeah, Breakpoint, and the guy's just running in circles. Oh yeah, I still have that video.
So that happened. I literally hit that kitty so hard it spun like a spinning top and floated up into space and disappeared. And that was the only time I encountered a bug like that. It was just the one time. But so getting sort of back, I know we're going sort of hodgepodge around because it's a free form discussion here, but things that were added, I didn't know that this was added until it came out and people already started talking about it. I didn't know that Steve does not have a definitive end in the original version of the game.
Yeah, it's true. He just kind of disappears.
He just goes away and he's like, I'll see you on the morrow next time. Ta-ta, toodaloo. And then when there's another mission later on, if you're not patient listening to 2 guards talking, you don't even know that he's killed.
Yeah, he's just hung, yeah.
Yeah, and I know you'd have to know the history of that to know it, but in the game, I don't know if you guys have done it yet, but if you haven't, sorry, spoilers, you get a letter delivered to you that says, hey, I've basically explaining when he was arrested. He wrote a letter that got to you to say, come see me. I'm going to meet you at this island. This is my rendezvous point for my shipmates and me. We're going to do that, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, well, you know what? I'm going to go see my friend. Did he actually get out of prison? Because he had heard in the game, Edward has heard rumors that he's dead. And he's like, well, no, if I just got a letter, maybe not. But you know how time works differently when you're writing letters and it's at sea. So you get there and there's a side mission and you meet his loyal. It's not the regular crew. I guess it's the officers, or what would be the officers' crew.
Yeah.
So like the close men that would say, you know, the commissioned men essentially. And there's been a mutiny by the people that were non-commissioned, and they're fighting over it. Essentially, you help them out. You hear that, you know, it's a feel-good story that Steed has talked you up as like his best friend, even though, you know, for the first few encounters, Edward has just been using him. You know, you as the player know that. But then you start to realize that as time goes on, and especially as time goes on, and Edward has lost friends and seen all the bad and horrible things that can happen in the world of piracy and just in the world in general, that he starts to value the friendship he has with different people that have been loyal. And even though he probably still sees Steed as a foolish rich kid, he sees him as a friend. So you hear all these good things that, oh, he's been talking about you. Oh, they're like, oh wait, it's Edward Kenway. Oh, we're saved. You know, it's the friend that taught our captain all the things he needs to know about, you know, combat and decency and blah blah blah. And you finally go down and to see what, you know, what's left of his thing, and you go into his cabin and you can read a few things. It gives you a little bit of history, like that's based on the true story of what happened to the real person in real life.
Right.
And you also pick up a portrait to put into your basement cellar of your base, which obviously wouldn't have had that originally. So they found a spot to put it in the new game. And then you read the document, and it basically says, I'm to be hung tomorrow. Like, so he knew he was dying, and that's why he was agitated and everything. When one of his guys is like, I smuggled out this letter, we had to get it to you, and blah blah blah. And he gets to basically say goodbye to him. And then when he goes back to his home base, which has the butler, I'm forgetting his name, but he's also a former assassin. Who it's interesting that he didn't have more to do in the game.
Yeah,
I would have thought they would have followed up with them, or there'd be like side stories or history you could find. But he's like a real way to show how much Edward grows by the end of the game. If you do this, is he's all about getting the most amount of money possible, because he's going to go back home and blah, 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 I need money and power, money and power, money and power.
Right.
And he gets the painting, and he goes to hang it up and put Steed's, you know, little saber, his like personal knife there. And the butler's like, that's great. I'm sure I can fetch you a good, pretty penny for that. And he's like, no, some things are worth more than the money.
Yeah.
And he puts it up there, and then he doesn't say it out loud, but you hear him narrate in his head. And he's like, I'm sorry. You know, I'm sorry I wasn't there for you, basically.
Yeah. And you do get a new sea shanty as well. You get the Legend of Stede Bonnet.
Yeah. So like, I didn't realize that was not in the original game. And that's something I feel was directly made to address probably many, many years of fans of the game being like, man, I wish there was more to this. And they gave it a proper send-off.
Yeah, you also get more stuff with Blackbeard. You get a new addition to Great Inagua. There's a mission you can do called A World Without Gold, and you find Blackbeard's treasure. I'm not going to say what it is, but it's a nice cap on what would have been a wonderful storyline. I'm thinking, I see why this treasure's so important to you. I get it. And
as someone awesome. Who knows the history of Blackbeard, that's a really good fucking storyline.
Yeah, like there's so much in this game that I hope modern gamers appreciate. Like, I think
a lot of modern gamers are appreciating it. I've been seeing a lot of praise online.
The parkour is of the more modern style, and we also don't have to deal with scaling mountains, so we don't have to do the diagonal flip flop.
Plus, there's no instant fail if you get spotted while you're like kind of tailing someone.
Yeah, they cut out 90% of any tailing missions and escort missions. There's nothing like that there was in the original.
There's also auto follow, which oh my god, that's such
makes it so much easier. Yeah,
you can take a sip of your drink and just while it's happening. But that they did add, we should mention, this is also something I didn't know. Like, we have a reviewer's guide that, you know, we can sort of reference for bullet points, and it's like, here's some things that are new. I purposely didn't read, like, there's a section that's like, here's what's new, and I'm like, well, that's not for me because I am a new player. I was like, this is more for you guys. And it was like, I didn't realize that the officers that you recruit to go onto your ship, I didn't know that was new. I thought that was just part of the game, how you can get the additional officers and how each one gives you a new power to use while you're in combat to make things easier or more interesting. And that was pretty cool. So it was like, instead of being like a full hat on a hat, like here we're adding too many systems, it felt like a natural thing that would have always been there. So in thinking about it, I'm like, oh, so the original version of the game was really good, but they were just missing little bits and pieces that would have taken it over the top to make it like,
because I honestly think because Black Flag was aimed at being a companion to Rogue, and they were basically working on two frigging games at the same time, that there was a lot of rushing done, especially because this was supposed to be the next generation when it went from PS4 to Xbox One.
Mm-hmm.
well, and also this is when they were still doing a yearly cadence.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
when that was still possible, and I don't just mean like a yearly cadence of how we see from other companies, like
Activision and
yeah, it's not apples to apples, but like Activision, where they have 2 or 3 studios, and then they would rotate each year which studio was putting out things, so that they would have at least a 3-year cycle. This was back when one main studio was doing the main work on the game every single year. I don't believe it was until it was, I think, when Unity came out, around that time or after, is when they started doing.
It was when Unity came out, and it was an absolute disaster.
Yes, the initial launch, and then me playing it now, jumping forward 12 years, and I played it on PC, and it's funny, it has the best graphics on PC out of all of them, and I'm saying including up to Shadow.
Yeah.
Like as far as density and things going on, I'm like this.
Yeah.
I looked at it and I was like, this would have been a mess to run on a PC at launch, let alone console. And I remember on console it had major problems at launch, and it was, again, it was when they were rushing it, and after that is when you started seeing the rush of having, cycling of studios, who's the main developer, and then having like 6 or 10 studios all contributing little bits and pieces to it, which has its own issues, which we're seeing now and why they're sort of scaling back. But this was when, again, one studio was the main developer every single year, and they had one every year. So I can understand why scale and scope might have been split between 2 games, right? This and Rogue. But it is interesting to see, like, just when you trying to wrap your head around it, when now studios have a hard time getting a new game in a series out every 5 to 7 years.
Now, I'm really hoping at some point down the road, because there was DLC developed for this game, which followed Adewale. It happens like 20 years later, and it's called Freedom Cry.
They've already said Freedom Cry is not in the cards to come out.
I think they may change their mind, simply because, again, as of this recording, this game has sold over 3 million copies.
Well,
It sold a lot.
If they want to use the same engine, they should probably do this for Rogue next, right? And I mean, like, to speculate on it,
especially because barely anyone played Rogue.
Because it came out on the previous gen when everybody was already making the upgrade. I could see that, but also I could see, without like using my crystal ball to see the future, next year, like as of this recording, so 2027 will be the 20th anniversary of the first game.
That'll be the remake.
And the first game is
100%.
the smallest in size. I was able to beat that game on PC. You can beat that game in like 10-15 hours.
Yes,
it's not the scope of it, the world that it's in, it's not too big. If you want to add it, make it more colorful and lush, and put it in this engine, they could totally transfer that into this engine. And that is something that could get done, honestly, with a team and in multiple teams of the size that they have at Ubisoft within a year or 2 max.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I could see that being the 20th
if
anniversary game.
Yeah, that thing was greenlit a year or 2 ago. I guarantee it.
Now there is one. Yeah, sorry, Ken.
And this was like, they were happy with the progress of this game and went, all right, the anniversary is coming up. Let's work on that, and then that'll hold people off until our next game.
I could totally see that. So that's just my thoughts on that, just outside of it. But as far as this game's concerned, I think like the music was really well handled in it.
Oh yeah, the music is great.
The shanties, like once you get used to the controls of having to shift it around, so you don't have to listen to the same song every time. Obviously, you have to catch the different notes to get more music. Sometimes you get them naturally through story progression, but like overall, I'd say it was pretty well handled. Voice acting, because I'm always a bit of a stickler for it when an actor comes back to voice characters again. You wouldn't have been able to tell that the lines for Edward have been expanded upon with like 13 years difference between them if you didn't actually explicitly know that, right? Like,
Yeah.
they were able to get to match the voices so perfectly, and the actor has not aged too much in his voice either. And Steed is the same thing. It sounds exactly the same. Like, it's always surprising when that much time can go by and they can happen to get the voice acting to be like almost perfect.
And just to note, the Resynced is actually two composers, because the original,
I think was the one. Right?
well, the original composer was Brian Tyler for
That's
the
it,
original game, and then Stephen Luca, who did all the stuff for Skull and Bones, added new tracks to the game.
It makes sense because Skull and Bones was originally like built upon the idea of doing the naval combat as its own game, right? And we know that story for how it was developed for such a long time. Like, if any studio within the company was going to do this remake, it made sense to have Singapore do it, right? So I mean, and honestly, like, let's be fully real here. Everybody thought that studio couldn't make a good game.
Yeah.
After that release, flat out, I know it's like, if Ubisoft is listening to us, sorry, but that's the truth. Everybody at this point didn't think they could ever make a good game, and even though yes, it's a remake, reimagining, whatever, this proves they can definitely, if given the right project,
and I mean, like,
the right project, the right project management, the right scope, the right time, they're able to make something really cool.
And
the one thing, oh sorry, Ken, yeah,
and like as Mike said, it sold 3 million copies, which was also what Ubisoft said they were expecting for the entire rest of this year.
Yeah, like this blew by expectations. Like,
yeah,
it
like
surprise me if they're going to do more stuff with this.
And I mean, I think at bare minimum now, this was a proof of concept that the remakes could work this way. I think they'll probably use this engine for the remake of the first game.
Oh, 100%.
Because that'll be the easiest project to pivot to. And if not, I don't necessarily know if it's the same studio that's going to do the remake of that. They might just, I mean, who knows what's going to happen, but like speculative, we know that, was it Montreal or Quebec studio? One of the two was doing Sands of Time that got canceled. Mm-hmm. So I think it's Quebec that was doing that. Maybe give the first game to Quebec to do, and then have this team work on Rogue or something. Yeah. Because they've already, like, for all we know, they could have been doing both, but I don't know. I think this was, from the sounds of it, this was the risk they were taking. Like, hey, let's see if this works. Like, can we get, 1 million? Probably like metric goals would be like, can we get 1 million sold on the first month? And then can we get maybe 2 million sold by the end of the year? And the reality was, within the first month, they got 2 million, 3 million. They're like, okay, well, obviously this would not necessarily work for every game in the series, but this was the right one to try it with. And as far as other stuff added, like you said, there's extra treasures, there's more stuff. The
naval battles I'm not a big fan of, and allow me to talk about that for a second.
Yes, go ahead.
So they redid the legendary ship battles. Now, in the original game, were they a pain in the ass? Yes, particularly the one where you fight the 2 mana wars. That one has always been a fuck you.
That's the only one I tried in this, and I went, nope.
I've beaten 3 of the 4. The one I can't beat, because you have to manage your health so carefully, is the ghost ship. And that one genuinely, because that was one of the easier ones in the beginning, because they've changed combat patterns. They do more when their health has changed. And I was expecting a breeze like I was in the first game, with the exception of the 2 kind of mana wars. And here, Yeah, it's more challenging. I felt like the other ones gave you more. You get like $12,000, a bunch of resources, and some cosmetics. And the ships do respawn, which is cool. But it's like, I wish there was a way to tune the legendary fights, because I really think one of them is a little too difficult. And there is one other small complaint that I have, and it's so minor. It's something that I noticed in Assassin's Creed Shadows. So there's one trophy, and I think the trophy's called Over-Designed. And the Over-Designed trophy, how you get it is you have to kick a berserk enemy while a ship's on fire overboard.
Oh, it's one of those things.
It is so incredibly frustrating. I'm down like 3 trophies to get platinum. That's one of the few I can't do, because you can only really do it on brigs, occasionally frigates.
At least this isn't an EA era BioWare game where it's not only do you have to beat the game on the hardest difficulty, but you have to like play the multiplayer and be in the top 10 worldwide to get a trophy. You know,
on a
it's
certain
not
day.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's not one of those, at least. But yeah, that sounds frustrating. Now, to sort of jump in again to storyline stuff, we should mention what was cut. So for me going into it as a new player, I had played the intro, like I said, to the original version, and I knew that there was some stuff going on in the present day. I now, having gone back and played or watched the entire Desmond, saga, I know what was happening, and I'm actually pretty psyched. And I also understand why a lot of people are upset that they're sort of stepping back in many terms from it. Doesn't mean permanently, but at least the last few games they've sort of stepped back from progressing that sort of current day storyline, or quote unquote the entire premise of the franchise. has been stepped back. In this, we should say that there is no Abstergo, there is no present day stuff, except if you're doing like the Rift stuff,
logs,
the Animus logs and Rifts, which doing it to get the quote unquote, okay, you have one ending to this game, but to get the quote unquote true ending where you see the lore of what's happening, you have to do that stuff. Somebody had a cool ringtone.
Not me for
you have to do those, and we're not going to spoil everything, but like I found one naturally and did the whole rigmarole. It's basically logic puzzle parkouring to get to, and that was sort of available in other games as well. I think the hardest ones were probably in Valhalla. But in this one, you complete them, and then you can fight a boss, and you sort of get the idea of where things are going. And I will do a little bit of theory crafting here with you. So for those that don't know, we're not going to do like everything. It's like basically there is a race on Earth that came before humans, that created humans, and the precursors.
Yeah.
The whole premise of the original franchise of the game was that the Templars are going after pieces of Eden, aka relics of technology that could be used to manipulate people and control the environment and Earth itself, and they want power and control. So the whole premise of these games originally were power through control and power through freedom.
Yes.
The power over one's destiny essentially is what it was. And and it's also not pure black and white. Like, not every Templar is evil in intent.
Like Shay Cormac from Rogue, for example.
And or even Kenway's son was not evil for the sake of it. It's evil through environment and perspective. But so you have that stuff to deal with. But beyond that, it was sort of that, and Desmond was also there trying to.
Desmond was in the middle of everything.
Chosen one, quote unquote. DNA spoke well. There's a lot of little things as how it connects to the old people, but basically some of the precursor people, the ones that came before, some of them had their souls, quote unquote, or their memory engrams implanted into computer systems or ancient computer devices and are able to influence the future, trying to stop a disaster from happening, yada, yada, yada. Before the events of this game in the original, that is solved. Well, quote unquote, solved.
Quote unquote, solved.
Solved, but new problems have arisen because the solution was imperfect and it was just out of necessity. And that second stream of storyline starts here, which is about the next group of people working with the current day assassins and stopping Abstergo, who is the current day Templars. And the idea here was to introduce the lore of what happens after Desmond. That was the idea here, and this was pretty intriguing in how they did it. So in this version of the game, there's no reference to any of that. Period.
Yep, completely out.
What this actually does is this furthers the very few tidbits that were introduced in Shadows and a little bit in Mirage, where it doesn't even take place, the current day stuff, again, quote unquote, you can't see my quote fingers, doesn't even follow the stuff with Layla, who is the second sort of protagonist that appeared midway through this next batch of games that came out. This is dealing with what appears to be rogue AI within the Animus, within the virtual memory world, and the main voice speaking to the main AI agent, who reveals to basically be likely an AI construct of Juno from the previous ones, or is the influence of Juno, basically trying to get you to become a Templar. So when you go into the Animus, the Dark Animus stuff, in the Rifts, in the Nexus, whatever it is, it's trying to train you to break you down to make you join the Templars that way. And then there is another rogue AI, like a hacker that breaks in, but it's not a person. It appears to be just another AI agent, maybe based on somebody else's memory engram. Not Desmond, but somebody else. They haven't revealed who that is, that helps you resist and make the quote unquote right choice for freedom. And that's sort of what happens in this. And that's how you get to like the core of what's happening. It's a little odd because in 3 games of doing this, they haven't really revealed much about what it is. It's just in this game where you start to really realize that the one is
You're
probably
starting to piece stuff together.
Yeah, you're starting to feel like it's pretty clear that the one is representing Juno, or it either is Juno or is representing Juno. So that out of the way, outside of that, there's nothing that ties this game in its current form to any other game. There's not even references or anything.
I mean, technically,
the Sage does technically.
Yeah,
but also just in general, the whole Animus like wrapper thing that they're doing with the Assassin's Creed games from Mirage forward have been all part of this like collection of Animus games. Basically, when you boot
the problem
up the
is
game.
it is making it difficult for people to really track unless you like. It almost does feel a little bit like they're alienating people that are new by like only like I feel like
I think until that one remaster happens, I think people are then going to start deep diving, because people on console will have the Ezio trilogy to go back to and play the rest of those games.
Yeah. So this will really be the way to tell where this is going will be how they handle the first game if they do a remake for next year.
Yes.
Because so much of that game is in the present day.
Is plot. Is actual plot.
Yeah. So I wanted to get that sort of out of the way before we go into more of our final thoughts. Was there anything else that was different from when you guys played it that you noticed that jumped out at you?
I would say for me, the economy feels different. Like I feel, truth be told, I feel more kneecapped in this, because at one point in this game, I had $200,000 in reals. However, I was very resource poor. So I was like, I didn't have enough allo to put together certain maps from the treasure dealer. I didn't have enough sugar to do certain things, but I had loads of all these other supplies. I'm thinking, this feels weird because I kept raiding warehouses so I could try and get these supplies. And it just seemed like if I wanted rum, I couldn't find it. And if I wanted aloe, I could only really get that from Man of Wars or from very rarely warehouses.
You basically had to figure out that to get some things that you want, you'd have to go to the fully upgraded store in town, or the guy that that guy new that they added where you could buy the
treasure dealer from? Yes. Now,
okay,
with him, you couldn't buy rum or sugar, but you could buy animal bones, which then you could use to buy the more expensive.
Yeah, you basically had to go to him. If you really didn't want to go searching elsewhere, but you had plenty of money, you'd go to him to buy the bones, so that you wouldn't have to wait for animals to respawn in different areas of the world. And then you go to the shop, and then you could trade them for the items that you would need to then build the upgrade pouches and stuff for your character. So you could fully outfit yourself without having to do all the wild hunts.
Yeah, which was, I found a huge time saver in my instance, because
Same.
I would literally, like, how I played this game very quickly is the second the world became open, I did everything I possibly could. So when the time came to upgrade my items, bam, done, bam, done. I was stupid powerful. And the second the store went online, I purchased the treasure map. So I knew where everything was. And I literally collected everything around the map except in the areas that I couldn't access because they weren't open yet because of the story.
Yeah,
and
I went and tried to capture all of the forts.
Forts? Yep, that almost fucked me, actually.
A couple of them, I was like, oh my God. Even on the easier settings, if I changed settings, some of those were hard. Some of them, I ended up having to cheese because I was like, oh, this is too much. Like, too many ships kept spawning near it, and I just wasn't powerful. And I found it, like, some of it I wasn't powerful enough, and some of it was like, maybe it just didn't seem like it was working right. But I ended up finding a couple of them where I could sit at one spot occasionally, and if I upgraded my ship just the right way, I would be a fraction hair farther away than their cannons could hit, and I could just about break half of their cannons before going around it, and before it would spawn the ships to protect them.
Yeah. Like, I would say overall, I felt what was added was of value. If I had to give some suggestions, I would maybe spawn a couple more diving bell sections, which would have been cool, just so you can use that thing, because there's only like 5 or 6 of the places you can do it at. I would have added an explorable area in Florida, maybe just a small section, and it could just be like 1 or 2 locations.
More in Africa, maybe?
Yeah, and like more in Africa. Just give me something. And then that'd be what I'd add. Like, I felt for the story, I felt fairly satisfied. The Dark Animus stuff is annoying, but it's not bad.
Yeah.
I like how we got a conclusion with certain characters.
The unlimited swimming thing ended up being hilarious, because when I turned that on, there were areas where I couldn't get to because I wasn't powerful enough. And like, it's the one cove where I don't think it was Kingston, but it was one of the ones where I didn't realize it's fairly late game. It's
underwater cave.
No, the mission that you end up getting is to go to this island and you meet this assassin lady who's from like is it the South American?
Oh, and she has you hunt that panther. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got there real early. You know how I did it? Because I couldn't get close enough with the ship because they were blockaded by like 5 big ships and like a man of war or something out there, and a full blockade of like mines out in front. So I parked the ship in the middle of the ocean out of their range, jumped underwater and swam for 4 minutes until I landed on the island. And I got there, and so when it was time to like do the mission, I was able to fast travel to the island. And then when it was time to leave, I was like, oh no, when it was time to leave, I had to fast travel out of there, because when I was leaving on the ship, the blockade was still there and I wasn't powerful enough to leave. So that was just a little funny tidbit. But yeah, I can see what you mean. Like maybe they should have done something like that. I think it's a very well done remake.
It's fun,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. Like the fact that I haven't rolled credits on it, and I've put 100 hours into it. This is my thing. Like I'm looking forward to finishing the last treasure map because you can literally only get them out of warehouses, and they can only be found by your fleet. I have 5 out of 10 pieces.
I will say this: I know that they added. I don't remember the name because again, it's been a little bit since I played this now. But there is the captain. Okay, there's the captain of this one ship that is the assassin hunter.
Yeah.
And he's like a big bad. And I guess in the original version of the game, you don't get revenge on him.
Oh, Vane, I think his name is.
Yeah.
Governor
So what
Vane,
they so one of the things they added as a mission here, it's a quest line in the main game, is to go after him, and you go after him, and you have to fight him in an experimental ship.
Oh.
It is more powerful than all of the legendary ships.
Oh, that sounds annoying.
That's the one where I got stuck and I had to find a save file to get out of it. You can't damage him. With any weapons except for when, you have to, he basically will throw out like mines around him. You have to find a way to detonate the mines that he's thrown out.
Oh, with the swivel gun, right?
It is infuriating because he surrounds himself with multiple. Like I couldn't do it. I spent like 3 hours trying to do one mission, and I was like, I can't do this. And I would say I was about 90% ship upgraded.
Yeah.
I'm like I can't figure out how to do this. And as far as I could tell, that's the last mission of the new stuff that they added. So it might be patched, it might be different. You might have to look up a strategy out there for people out there. But like, I just realized, I came to the conclusion. I was like, guys, I've done almost everything I can do. I've got out of the save, moved back, and then I moved on to complete the game. To me, it feels like a post-game thing, even though it's presented to you before post-game. So I was like, okay, so I'll probably go back, do what you did, level up to max, and then try it out again. But yeah, I just want to say that for anybody playing, it's like, if you're doing the mission where it's like, go after this person with the experiment, I would suggest that you wait till endgame.
Yeah.
To complete endgame to do it.
And one of the things I can say about this, depending on what you want your Assassin's Creed experience again, maybe don't do all the side activities the second they become available, because I cleared a good chunk of all the extra content before I even got the rope dart, the sleeping gun, or the berserk gun. I was done 90%. And I'm like, oh, well, I could have made my job 10 times easier had I waited. And then I was literally going back and getting trophies. So I was like, okay, now I need to hang 10 people with the rope dart or do that over design thing, which I'm still fucking stuck on.
And to be honest, this applies more to if you're playing it on normal or easy. If you're playing it on hard, I think you pretty much have to follow the progression they want you to, or it will be too difficult to do it otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, overall, I think this is totally worth it. If you're on the fence about this, maybe this will definitely be on sale fairly soon.
It
From
is
the holiday season.
It is a good entry point too. Like I can see why if you've never played any in the series, and everybody will be like, "Oh, play the Ezio trilogy." It's like, yeah, but that's a trilogy. That's a lot to get into, and those games are older style. Even though Brotherhood, out of the 3. Brotherhood felt the most like a modern game in its design, or how at least I would feel a modern game is, but it is a daunting thing to somebody who's brand new that hasn't gone back and played the others. The way they presented this is something that a complete newbie could play that's never played anything in the franchise before.
Yeah. So I guess I guess that's pretty much going to do it for our thoughts of this. Again, big thanks to Ubisoft for supplying codes across multiple different platforms.
Yeah.
Like this was a lot of fun.
And it's pretty clear now, now that's been out, and obviously the longer because this is sold so well, they will keep supporting it with, patches to fix any lingering bugs or issues. But even at this point where we are in recording this, it sounds like, if for PC, you do have to have a fairly beefy CPU, because this is one that is going to require, in the day and age of how much RAM and VRAM and everything costs. I have a 3080 Ti and it played just fine once the patches came out. This is going to require a moderate CPU build, but playing it on console, it seems like you're going to get a roughly equivalent experience, maybe not quite as shiny, but it doesn't really matter what platform you play this on. This is probably going to be a pretty good experience for you.
Yeah, 100%. So that's going to do it for this edition of The Prototype as we sail back out onto the high seas. I guess I've been Mike the Birdman, joined with, from the state of New Jersey,
Ken from the Sandman.
And of course, take us out, oh Captain, my Captain.
Alex the producer. And I guess that's going to be, I was going to do some sort of sea shanty thing, but we don't want to torture people with that. So, but you know, this is it. That's it for us right now at This Week in Geeks Prototype. We'll be back sometime this summer. We plan on having some more discussions on some of these games that have come out, but as our busy schedules and vacations abound, we'll see what happens next. But you know what? We might want to return to this at some later date as well, especially as more maybe remakes and stuff come out, to see how this stands up and maybe see how this goes, because this might even be a contender right now for some of our categories where we would vote for, like, in our games of the year stuff at the end of the year. So we'll have to have a discussion of that later on. But that's it for us here. We'll be back next time right here at thisweekingeek.net.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at thisweekingeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@thisweekingeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.